There are few places in the world quite so serene as Loch Dormant. Its position is one of near perfect isolation, high up among the rolling, seemingly endless moors. Maybe it's not the most famous loch. Its image does not grace shortbread boxes, and no mythical beastie lurks in its depths. It has no gimmicks that might attract tourists. In fact, its chief attraction is a quiet, almost magisterial stillness. The water is calm, and therefore its effect on the mind, and maybe even the soul, is calming too. It's a balm for busy minds. From here in the lodge, we have a superb view out over the loch. And it's this view that we'll be enjoying this evening, so we can make the most of it. I think it's nice to begin with a little wind down. Tonight's wind down is a visualization. So, no matter what's been going on today, whether it's been a busy day or a calm one, this is an opportunity to put everything down. To let go of any inner chatter and find a place of rest in both the body and the mind. So first, get yourself comfortable in bed, just taking a moment to pause and be still. And when you're ready, taking a big, deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you breathe out, allowing the body to sink down into your bed, feeling the weight of the body, allowing thoughts to come and go. Now imagining a steady flow of warm sunlight flowing down through the body, dissolving any tension, any discomfort as it begins to fill the body, starting with the toes, moving up through the feet and the legs, being filled with sunlight. The qualities of warmth, space, and ease as it continues to travel up through the body, up past the waist, to the back and the stomach. It's as though it washes away any discomfort. It continues up through the chest and the back into the shoulders and down the arms, all the way down to the hands and fingers. A sense of relief in the body and stillness in the mind as it continues to travel up through the neck and the throat, into the head and face, all the way to the very top of the body, until there is nothing other than that sense of stillness remaining. And now, just gently bringing the attention back to the body. Our lodge here was built long ago. The oldest sections, the kitchens and the great room, are more than 300 years old, in fact. But today, it has all the trappings of comfortable Highland living. Deep-buttoned, wing-backed armchairs, a large stone fireplace fed in the winter months with fragrant fir wood, a red, patterned Turkish carpet worn almost threadbare in places, particularly in front of the fire. Various paintings showing natural subjects, including stags. Well, rather a lot of them, actually. And many distinguished-looking ladies and gentlemen in clothing from times gone by. There are also pictures of the landscape in its various seasons. Here, all covered in snow. Here, when the heather is in full bloom and the moorland is a purple blanket, gently stirring in the sun. Here, at night, when the moon is doubled by its reflection in the water. Opposite the fireplace is a large set of windows, occupying most of the far wall. These offer an exceptional view out over the loch. Although we're high up in these mountains, the surrounding hills shield the waters from the westerly winds, which, blowing in from the seacoast, howl around the peaks just 2 miles from here. Here it's very calm, very serene. This evening, especially so. It's warm and cozy in this room. And the lodge's resident dog, a large old boxer known as the Commander, is asleep by the fire. His large black eyes closed and his face in repose, doleful as those of his breed tend to be. No one knows quite how deep the loch is. No plumb line has ever reached its bottom, and no one has ever seen fit to apply more advanced technology to it. And isn't it better that way? Numbers are only one way to measure a thing, after all. Better to imagine its depth. It could be as deep as the mountains on either side are high, or it could be as deep as it is still. That would be very deep. It could be as deep as 10 double-decker buses or 3 T-Rexes standing on each other's shoulders, if one could even imagine such a thing. The truth is, when it comes to its depth, we just don't know. It's one of the mysteries of Loch Dormant. It is so very deep and very still. Over the years, many people have compared the loch to a mirror. If it is a mirror, the face it reflects is the skies. The sky gazes down upon its reflection, delighted. It never grows tired of it, all night and all day. And so it almost looks like the lodge's veranda, which juts out over the sloping bank, which rolls down to the water's edge, is reaching out into the sky, as though the sky and water are interchangeable. That the tufted ducks, which sometimes come to fish the loch, are swimming out into the sky, V-shaped wakes rippling out across the clouds behind them. Loch Dormant is longer than it is wide. On a map, it looks like a great, long blue finger pointed out in the direction of the sea. Our lodge sits at its easterly tip, which means that some way off, we can see both its northern and southern banks. Its western edge being hidden by the slight curve where the hillside juts out into the loch. Nearest us, the bank is gradual, and there are reeds which perforate the silver surface of the lake, and a pebble and sand beach where the peat meets the water. But on the northern side, the loch's shore drops off suddenly. It's a local tradition to swim in the loch on a New Year's morning. Sometimes they even have to break the ice to do it. A gaggle of brave men and women flock to the bank in their bathing suits and swimming caps and dive from a rock straight into the icy water. It's one way to start the year. Certainly, everything after that would feel like a walk in the park by comparison. The little beach beyond our veranda is a great place to skim stones. One of the prime locations for stone skimming, maybe in all the world. The urge is irresistible. There seems to be an inexhaustible supply of good, flat, round pebbles to skim, despite the many centuries of stone skimmers who must have visited this shore. Where are these stones coming from? And how is the stock replaced? Surely the loch, in its current state of stillness, is much too tranquil to wash more perfectly flat, perfectly round pebbles ashore. And yet, finding one is never too difficult. This is another of the loch's mysteries. If you get the angle just right, you might count more than 10 bounces. But beyond that, it becomes hard to discern the exact number. All you have to go on are the complex, overlapping ripples emanating out and out in the distance, overlapping like the mechanism of a clock. It is a pure kind of game, and declaring a winner is often a matter of honourable agreement. Of course, not all games have a winner. Stone skimming, in this respect, is more like play. Grown-ups delighting in a quirk of physics, that a rock thrown just right can turn the surface of a loch as bouncy as elastic. The landscape around the loch is rugged, with outcroppings of granite that push through the peat. From the edge of the water to where the hillsides turn to scree, the ground is covered with heather. Its colours reflect the season, a rich green in the rains of the autumn, sometimes blanketed with snow in winter, a dark green turning to purple with its tiny flowers in the spring, and a lighter green, almost yellow in places, in the summer, particularly if it's been a warm summer. In amongst the heather, in certain sunken areas, the brackens grow, their ends endlessly waving in the breeze. The bracken seems very dense, and yet you can cut it with a pinewood stick. Cut a path and make a den, and curl up to sleep on a summer's day like a fox. In the middle of the loch is an island, and on the island the ruins of a castle. This place was once the stronghold of the local laird. He had the walls built 4 feet thick in places. In the summer months, when the wind isn't too chilly. It's rather nice to take a boat out from the jetty and row over there. The stones are overgrown with ivy, but you can still make out the shapes of rooms where the nobleman and his attendants lived all those years ago. It would have been impossible for them to imagine, I suppose, that their stronghold would be overcome. Not by the neighbouring clan or marauders from over the sea, but time and the wind and 500 hard winters. What does it mean that all walls over a long enough period collapse? That the world's natural tendency is toward openness, flatness, and a lack of division. Maybe that is why Loch Dormant itself is so calm. Maybe that's the thing that it knows. That underlying everything, there is a kind of stillness, a kind of peace. On a clear day, the sky above the loch is a great place to spot an eagle. These huge birds sometimes have a wingspan of 5 or 6 feet. And with their wings outspread, the feathers at the tips splay out like fingers. They have a feel for the air's invisible currents and know how to turn them to their advantage, the way that a good skier can recognize a fast slope and turn their skis to ride down it. The eagles fish for the large salmon that live in the loch, dropping out of the sky like a stone and bearing fish off back to their nests, high up on the craggy peaks. Quite a lunch, and quite a view to go with it. More than one family of otters live along the banks of the loch. You'll see them padding around, searching among the flat stones, their hands shiny and black, as though they were wearing little leather gloves. The otter's pelt, when dry, is soft and downy looking. It stirs in the breeze at the water's edge. When they dive into the water, they're instantly transformed into something far sleeker, breaking the water's surface with their tails, which are shiny and smooth as those of the fish that they hunt. The otters gather food by day, and at night they sleep in a den called a holt, an underground nest padded with twigs and the down of their underfur. Its entrance under the water to keep out prowlers. Sounds like a cozy place to sleep now, doesn't it? On the eastern banks of the loch, in the middle distance, you might make out a clutch of trees. These are ancient pines that have grown here for thousands of years, since the last ice age at least. They are tall, elegant trees, the majority of their branches sprouting at their tops like clouds of green smoke around a tall chimney. Despite their proportions, the trees are strong, and even on the stormiest days, their trunks and branches are supple in the winds. After a stormy day, their pine cones drift across the lake in a little flotilla. Their seeds, when they fall, have a single wing, so they turn as they fall, drifting on the breeze. You have to admire their perfect design. Night is falling now on the loch. The fire is burning low, and the commander is snoring on his cushion by the fire. He opens his eyes for a moment and regards us from under his expressive brows before falling back into a deep sleep. The surface of the loch is still, perfectly still and perfectly calm. The moon appears on its surface, white and translucent as fine china. The loch reflects the moon and stars, and it's as though our lodge were built upon the edge of an endless vista of sky and stars and moon, stretching off into the night as far as the eye can see. A dream of stillness and night, of sky and stars and pine trees standing tall, and ripples on a loch.